Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins All World, coin collectors and enthusiasts. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of one of the most iconic coins in American history, the Washington Quarter Dollar from 1982. At first glance, this coin might seem like just another quarter in your pocket, but hold on, there's a lot more to this coin than meets the eye. If you think you know all there is to know about the 1982 Washington Quarter, think again. This coin has the potential to surprise you, and it could be worth much more than you expect. Let's start with a little background about the Washington Quarter. Introduced in 1932, this coin has been a staple of American currency for decades. The design, featuring the portrait of George Washington on the obverse, has become instantly recognizable to millions of people. The reverse side traditionally features an eagle or a symbol representing the United States, but that's not where the story ends. The 1982 Washington Quarter is special for a variety of reasons, some obvious, others not so much. The year 1982 marks a pivotal point in the history of the Washington Quarter series. While most quarters from this period were minted with a copper-nickel composition, 1982 saw the introduction of a slightly different approach. Coins from this year were made with a clad composition, which resulted in a distinct look and feel when compared to earlier quarters. This change was part of an effort by the U.S. Mint to control costs, especially with the rising price of metals at the time. But as with any shift in production, it also meant that certain coins from this era, especially those in pristine condition or with rare errors, would become more valuable over time. Now, why is the 1982 Washington Quarter of particular interest to collectors? One word: rarity. While there were millions of these coins minted, the fact is that a large percentage of them were heavily circulated. Most of the quarters from 1982 you'll come across today are worn, scratched, or dented from years of use in vending machines, parking meters, and other day-to-day transactions. But here's the thing: finding one in near-perfect, uncirculated condition is incredibly rare. A quarter that's been carefully preserved, kept free of blemishes, and stored properly could be worth much more than its 25-cent face value. So, what makes the 1982 Washington Quarter stand out in the world of numismatics? Well, it's not just about the condition. The true value of this coin can skyrocket when it's found with one of several potential minting errors. Yes, those minting errors we've talked about in previous videos are real game changers when it comes to coin collecting. A small mistake in the minting process can make a coin a truly unique and valuable item. Let's talk about some of the errors you should be on the lookout for in the 1982 Washington Quarter. One of the most sought-after mistakes is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin is improperly aligned in the minting press, resulting in the design being struck off-center. Coins with an off-center strike are highly prized by collectors because they are visually distinctive and rare. If you happen to have a 1982 Washington Quarter with an off-center strike, you could have a much more valuable coin than you originally thought. Another error that collectors find particularly exciting is the double die. This occurs when the dies used to strike the coin are misaligned or improperly used, causing the design to be struck more than once. In the case of the 1982 Washington Quarter, a double die error might show up as doubling in the date or the lettering on the coin. These errors are incredibly rare, and collectors go wild for them because of their unique appearance and the story they tell about the minting process. If you have a 1982 Washington Quarter with a double die error, you're holding a coin that stands out from the rest, and collectors will pay top dollar for it, but the errors don't stop there. Another noteworthy issue that can make a 1982 Washington Quarter more valuable is die cracks. Over time, the dies used in the minting process can develop cracks. These cracks can leave permanent marks on the coins, creating a unique design feature that collectors find fascinating. A die crack on a 1982 Washington Quarter can actually increase the coin's value, especially if the crack is prominent and well-defined. What about coins that show proof-like qualities? Proof coins are typically struck with a special process that gives them a shiny, mirror-like finish, and they're usually reserved for collectors. However, sometimes regular circulation coins, like the 1982 Washington Quarter, can take on a proof-like appearance if they're struck with particularly high-quality dies. These coins are extremely rare and often sought after by collectors looking to add unique pieces to their collection. So, what's the value of a 1982 Washington quarter, especially one that's in great condition or has an error? If you happen to own a rare, error-free 1982 Washington quarter that's in exceptional condition, you might already know that the value of your coin is higher than just 25 cents. But if your coin has a noticeable minting error or is in uncirculated, flawless condition, it could be worth as much as $68,000. That's right, $68,000 for a single quarter. It's incredible to think that a coin as ordinary as the Washington quarter could have such a high price tag, but in the world of rare coins, anything is possible. Coins with minting errors or those in near-perfect condition can fetch impressive amounts, and the 1982 Washington quarter is a prime example of this. So, next time you're sorting through your change, don't overlook that 1982 quarter. Take a closer look, especially if it's in great condition or if you spot any unusual features. Today, we're going to dive into the fascinating world of one of America's most iconic coins, the 1981 Washington quarter dollar. At first glance, this might seem like just another run-of-the-mill quarter that you find in your pocket change, but trust me, this particular coin has a story to tell that could have you rethinking its worth. If you've ever wondered whether a 1981 Washington quarter could be worth more than its face value, you're in for a treat. Stick around as we uncover what makes this coin so special and why collectors are eager to get their hands on it. Let's start with the basics. The 1981 Washington quarter is part of the long-running Washington quarter series, which has been a staple of American currency since 1932. Featuring the familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse, these quarters have become one of the most recognizable coins in U.S. history. But just because it's part of a familiar series doesn't mean that every 1981 Washington quarter is created equal. There are certain factors that can make this coin stand out, and they might surprise you. First of all, the 1981 Washington quarter was minted at a time when the U.S. was still producing coins with a copper-nickel-clad composition. This composition is what gives the coin its familiar color and weight. However, not all of the 1981 quarters were minted with the same quality control standards, and this is where things get interesting for collectors. In fact, a number of 1981 quarters, while still produced in large quantities, were issued with minting errors that make them stand out in the world of numismatics. These errors aren't immediately obvious to the untrained eye, but for a seasoned collector, they can mean the difference between a coin that's worth face value and one that could fetch a small fortune. One of the most sought-after errors in the 1981 Washington quarter series is the off-center strike. Off-center strikes occur when a coin is not properly aligned in the minting press, resulting in the design being struck too far to one side of the coin. This creates an irregular and asymmetrical appearance that is highly prized among collectors. If you happen to have a 1981 Washington quarter with an off-center strike, you could have a very valuable piece of numismatic history. Another error that can significantly increase the value of this coin is the double die error. A double die occurs when the die used to stamp the coin is misaligned or worn, causing the design to be struck multiple times. This error is most noticeable in the date and inscriptions on the coin. If your 1981 Washington quarter features doubled lettering or a doubled date, you've found something truly special. Double die errors are extremely rare and highly desirable, often commanding premium prices on the market. Minting errors aren't the only reason the 1981 Washington quarter can be worth more than face value, though. Another key factor is the condition of the coin. Like many coins from the early 1980s, the 1981 Washington quarter was produced in large numbers, and most of them were heavily circulated. Coins that have been worn down by time, scratches, and use in everyday transactions are far less valuable than those that have been carefully preserved. That's where the graded condition comes into play. If you're lucky enough to own a 1981 Washington quarter that has been well preserved, free of wear, scratches, and dings, it could be worth significantly more. Coins that are in mint state or near mint condition are always in high demand, as collectors are constantly on the lookout for coins that are as close to original condition as possible. If your 1981 Washington quarter has been carefully stored in a protective case or sealed container, it could be worth far more than its face value. Now, you might be wondering, what exactly is the value of a 1981 Washington quarter? Well, as we've seen, it's not just about the year and the design. The rarity of the coin, the condition it's in, and any potential errors it might have all play a significant role in determining its worth. In fact, if you have a 1981 Washington quarter that is in pristine, uncirculated condition or has a rare minting error, it could be worth an incredible $69,000. That's right, $69,000 for a single quarter. While the typical 1981 Washington quarter might only be worth 25 cents, the rare ones, those that have either escaped heavy circulation or have some sort of minting error, can demand a much higher price on the market. For collectors, it's all about finding that perfect combination of rarity, condition, and error, and when you do, the rewards can be astronomical. So, the next time you come across a 1981 Washington quarter, take a closer look. Is it in perfect condition? Does it have any unusual features or minting errors that make it stand out from the rest? Don't just let it slip through your fingers, take the time to inspect it. You could be holding onto a coin that could be worth far more than you ever imagined. In conclusion, the 1981 Washington quarter is a coin that should not be overlooked. Whether it's an off-center strike, a double die error, or just a well-preserved example of a coin from the early 1980s, there are plenty of reasons why this quarter can be worth much more than 25 cents. If you're lucky enough to find one in exceptional condition or with a rare error, you could be holding a true numismatic treasure worth an astounding $69,000. Today, we're about to uncover the fascinating story behind a coin that's more than just pocket change, the 1971 Washington quarter dollar. You may have seen these coins before or even have a few lying around in your collection, but did you know that the 1971 Washington quarter can be worth far more than its face value? That's right, folks, this small piece of history could be worth thousands of dollars. Stick with me, and let's dive into what makes this coin so special, and why collectors are paying attention to it. The 1971 Washington quarter is part of the long-standing Washington quarter series, which has been in circulation for decades. What makes the 1971 version unique? Let's start with the history. In the early 1970s, the U.S. was in a period of significant change. The country had just come out of the turbulent 1960s, and the economy was shifting as well. The quarter had already been in circulation for decades, but the 1971 release marked an important moment in the series, as it was just a few years after the transition to using a copper-nickel-clad composition instead of silver. Now, let's talk about what makes this coin especially interesting for collectors. The 1971 Washington quarter wasn't struck in the highest numbers compared to other years, and this rarity is one of the first factors that has brought attention to it. While millions of quarters were minted in 1971, the unique characteristics of the coin and the small number of high-quality examples have made it an appealing target for coin collectors. But here's where it gets really interesting. Like many coins, the 1971 Washington quarter is sometimes found with minting errors, which can dramatically increase its value. Minting errors are fascinating because they occur during the production process, and they make a coin unique in the world of numismatics. One of the most desirable errors for the 1971 quarter is the off-center strike. An off-center strike happens when the coin is not properly aligned in the minting press, which means the design gets stamped too far off to one side of the coin. This produces a coin with a lopsided appearance, and collectors love these because they are rare and unique. If you happen to find a 1971 Washington quarter with an off-center strike, you could be looking at a much higher value than its standard 25-cent worth. This type of error is highly sought after by collectors who are looking to add something truly special to their collection. Another fascinating feature that can significantly increase the value of the 1971 Washington quarter is the double die error. Double die errors occur when the die used to stamp the coin is misaligned, causing multiple impressions of the design to appear on the coin. This error is usually most visible in the lettering and numbers, such as the "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" inscriptions. The doubled appearance of these letters is a sure sign that the coin was struck multiple times, and it's a feature that numismatists absolutely treasure. The 1971 Washington quarter with a double die error can fetch much more than a standard version of the coin, especially if the doubling is clear and noticeable. Now, let's talk about condition, because this is an essential factor when determining the value of any coin, and it's no different for the 1971 Washington quarter. Most of these quarters were in heavy circulation, so finding one in mint condition is a rare occurrence. Coins that have been well preserved, free from scratches, dents, or signs of wear, are always more valuable. A 1971 quarter that is in pristine, uncirculated condition can command a premium price, as collectors are always eager to find high-quality examples. If you happen to own a 1971 Washington quarter that's in excellent condition, perhaps stored in a safe place away from the elements, it could be worth a significant amount of money. Remember, the key to value lies in how well the coin has been preserved and if it carries any minting errors that make it stand out from the rest. So, you might be wondering just how much a 1971 Washington quarter is worth. Well, as we've seen, there are several factors that influence the value, but if you happen to have a 1971 Washington quarter with a rare minting error or in pristine condition, you're sitting on a coin that could fetch an incredible $79,000. Yes, you heard that right, $79,000 for a single coin. While most 1971 Washington quarters are worth just 25 cents, those that are well preserved, contain rare minting errors, or have unique characteristics can be worth a small fortune. So, the next time you come across a 1971 Washington quarter, take a moment to inspect it. Is it in excellent condition? Does it have any striking errors, like an off-center strike or a double die? If so, you could be holding on to a coin that's far more valuable than you ever imagined. Today, we have something truly special to discuss: the 1970 Washington quarter dollar. If you thought these coins were just ordinary pocket change, think again. The 1970 Washington quarter has a fascinating history and certain characteristics that make it a must-have for any serious coin collector. Stick around until the end, because I'm about to reveal how much this seemingly humble coin could be worth today, and trust me, it's more than you think. Let's start with a bit of history. The Washington Quarter series, which was first introduced in 1932, has been in circulation for decades, and it remains one of the most recognizable coins in U.S. currency. By 1970, the design was already well established, featuring a profile of George Washington, the first President of the United States, on the obverse side, and a striking image of an eagle on the reverse. This design was created by John Flanagan and has stood the test of time. Now, you might be thinking, what makes the 1970 version stand out among all the others? The answer lies in both its rarity and certain minting errors that can make it even more valuable. As we dive into these details, you'll see why this particular coin could be worth far more than just its face value of 25 cents. In the 1970s, the U.S. Mint was still in full swing, producing large quantities of coins to meet the demands of the nation's economy. But what you might not realize is that, while the U.S. Mint produced millions of Washington quarters in 1970, there are some very special versions of this coin that were minted under less than ideal circumstances. These errors make them incredibly rare and highly sought after by collectors. One of the key errors you should watch for is the double die error. This occurs when a coin is struck multiple times, and each strike is slightly misaligned with the previous one. This results in the appearance of doubled features, particularly in the inscriptions, like "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." These double strikes make the coin stand out and are considered one of the most desirable and valuable types of errors for coin collectors. If you happen to come across a 1970 Washington quarter with a visible double die error, you could be holding on to something worth far more than just a quarter. Another error you should be on the lookout for is the off-center strike. When a coin is not properly aligned during the minting process, it can result in a lopsided design, where parts of the image and text are missing or appear off-center. These off-center strikes are rare, and they make a coin much more interesting to collectors. A 1970 Washington quarter with this error could be worth significantly more than its face value, especially if the off-center strike is very noticeable and doesn't affect the overall integrity of the coin too much. Aside from errors, another important factor that can increase the value of a 1970 Washington quarter is its condition. Like with any collectible, the better the condition, the higher the value. Coins that have been kept in pristine, uncirculated condition are worth far more than those that have been in regular circulation. If you find a 1970 Washington quarter that is free from scratches, wear, or damage, it could be worth a small fortune. Collectors are always on the lookout for coins in near-perfect condition, as they're harder to come by. Now, let's get to the part you've been waiting for. How much could a 1970 Washington quarter be worth? While most 1970 quarters are worth only face value in average condition, certain specimens with minting errors or those in pristine condition can fetch astronomical prices. A 1970 Washington quarter with a noticeable mint error, like a double die or off-center strike, or one that is simply in excellent condition, can be worth a staggering $78,500. Yes, you heard that correctly, $78,500 for a single 1970 Washington quarter. It's a reminder that not all coins are created equal, and with the right combination of rarity, condition, and minting errors, even a coin that's been in circulation for over 50 years can be worth an incredible amount of money. So, how do you know if you have a 1970 Washington quarter that could be worth such a hefty sum? Well, the first step is to inspect your coin closely. Check for any doubling of the inscriptions, an off-center strike, or any other minting errors. If you find something unusual or striking about your coin, it might be time to get it professionally evaluated by a numismatist or coin appraiser. Remember, the value of these coins is driven by rarity, demand, and condition. The more unique the coin, the higher its potential value. The 1970 Washington quarter, with its potential for minting errors and its place in U.S. history, is an exciting coin to add to any collection. Today, we're going to dive into one of the most intriguing and valuable coins from the 1970s, the 1974 Washington quarter dollar. Now, if you're thinking that a regular 25-cent coin could never be worth much more than its face value, think again. The 1974 Washington quarter holds some truly fascinating characteristics, and there are certain factors that make this coin not only a collector's dream but also a potential goldmine for those who happen to have one in their collection. Stick around, because I'm about to reveal how much this seemingly ordinary quarter could be worth, and trust me, you'll be surprised. Let's take a step back and look at the history of the Washington quarter series. Introduced in 1932 to honor George Washington, the first president of the United States, this coin quickly became an iconic part of American currency. By the time 1974 rolled around, the design had been in circulation for over 40 years, and yet, the Washington quarter still captivated coin collectors and the public alike. The obverse side of the 1974 quarter features the profile of George Washington, while the reverse side depicts an eagle in flight, gripping an olive branch and arrows, symbolizing peace and strength. Now, you might be wondering, what makes the 1974 version so unique and valuable? Well, there are a few key elements that add to its rarity. First and foremost, there are certain mint errors that make this coin particularly attractive to collectors. These errors, which happen during the minting process, are what elevate the 1974 Washington quarter from a simple piece of currency to a highly coveted collector's item. One of the most sought-after errors for the 1974 quarter is the double die error. This happens when the coin is struck multiple times, causing parts of the design to appear doubled. The most common places where this error can be found are on the inscriptions, like "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." Imagine seeing these words doubled. It's a major sign that the coin is not like any other in circulation. Double die coins are incredibly rare, and they can be worth a small fortune to the right collector who is willing to pay top dollar for them. But wait, that's not all. There's also the possibility of off-center strikes on the 1974 Washington quarter. An off-center strike occurs when the coin is not aligned properly during the minting process, which results in a lopsided design. This error makes parts of the coin's design, such as George Washington's profile or the eagle on the reverse side, seem cut off or incomplete. Off-center coins are not as common as others, making them extremely valuable to collectors who are looking for unique and rare finds to add to their collections. Another reason the 1974 Washington quarter is so valuable is its condition. As with any collectible, the better the condition of the coin, the more it's worth. Many 1974 quarters have been in circulation for decades, and over time, they may show signs of wear, scratches, and discoloration. However, coins that have been well preserved, kept in mint or near mint condition, can fetch a much higher price than those that have been handled and circulated. The better the grade of your coin, the more likely it is to be worth a significant sum. Now, here's the exciting part. You're probably wondering just how much a 1974 Washington quarter can be worth in today's market. While a regular 1974 quarter in average condition might only fetch a few dollars at best, coins that have rare minting errors or are in excellent condition can command eye-popping prices. If you come across a 1974 Washington quarter that features a double die error or an off-center strike, or if your coin is in pristine, uncirculated condition, it could be worth $80,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $80,000. That's right, this coin that many people think is just a regular piece of currency can be worth a staggering amount when it has the right characteristics, especially if it's a rare error coin or in superb condition. So, how can you tell if you've got one of these valuable 1974 Washington quarters in your pocket or collection? The first step is to carefully inspect your coin for any signs of a double die or off-center strike. Look closely at the inscriptions and the design to see if anything looks misaligned or doubled. If you spot any abnormalities, it might be time to take your coin to a professional appraiser or numismatist to get an accurate valuation, and don't forget about the condition. If your coin is well preserved with minimal wear, scratches, or tarnish, it could be sitting on a small fortune. Coins that have been stored in protective cases or that have been carefully preserved are always more valuable than those that have been handled frequently. The 1974 Washington quarter is an excellent example of how something that may seem ordinary on the surface can actually have a hidden treasure of value if you know what to look for. Whether it's a rare minting error, a coin in impeccable condition, or just the right combination of factors, this quarter could be your ticket to a hefty payout. So, keep your eyes peeled and be sure to inspect those coins carefully. You never know when you might come across a 1974 Washington quarter that could be worth an incredible sum. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another exciting coin discovery. Stay tuned for more great videos on rare and valuable coins. Happy collecting, and good luck hunting for your next treasure.